A tense but potentially pivotal night unfolded as reports confirmed that Hamas had agreed to release all Israeli hostages as part of President Donald Trump's proposed peace plan for Gaza. In a carefully worded post on his Truth Social platform, President Trump declared, "Based on the statement just issued by Hamas, I believe they are ready for a lasting peace. Israel must immediately stop the bombing of Gaza so that we can get the hostages out safely and quickly. Right now, it's far too dangerous to do that. We are already in discussions on details to be worked out. This is not about Gaza alone. This is about long-sought peace in the Middle East." This statement marked one of the most consequential diplomatic signals from Washington since Trump's return to office earlier this year. For the families of the remaining hostages, it was a moment that brought renewed hope. The hostages have been held for nearly 3 years since the bloody attacks of October 7th, with around 20 believed to still be alive. The announcement has, however, raised both relief and skepticism across Israel and the broader Middle East. To assess its implications, attention quickly turned to the perspective of seasoned security voices. Israeli Special Operations veteran Aaron Cohen joined the discussion to share his take. Speaking candidly, Aaron Cohen said, "I think this is chess for President Trump. Hamas coming back and saying that it accepts this deal, wants to give back the hostages. There's a caveat here. The term here is some elements," which was what was posted a little earlier today with this Gaza plan. Now, I agree the hostages want to come home, need to get them back. They've been in captivity for too long. However, I feel like the release of the hostages is typical signaling and dangling for Hamas. They're not agreeing to disarmament. And so that's the problem I have with this. This isn't really a peace deal. It's a partial offer. Cohen emphasized that while the return of the hostages was urgent and necessary, it should not be mistaken for a genuine commitment by Hamas to lasting peace. He described Hamas's strategy as a familiar one. Hamas is trying to look reasonable for the cameras right now, and they're going to dangle the hostages because that wins the sympathy, which is what they've been a master at manipulating. But rejecting giving up the weapons is the problem, and that's the old trick. So they agree to something soft, and then they stall the process and use that pause to reload. What they want is their cake. They want to eat it too. In Cohen's view, the current gesture by Hamas is a tactical maneuver designed to buy time and reset battlefield conditions. He added with characteristic bluntness, "The question is, can Israel get back the hostages? And does that open up the battlefield for Israel to go in and completely obliterate Hamas? We'll see. But I think that Trump is playing chess. The hostages are the first piece to take off the board, force Hamas to release them. It strips away their leverage, and then it's reset time. And let's have a look at the board again." That's where I'm at with that. The remarks captured the stark divide between cautious optimism and hardened skepticism that surrounds this apparent breakthrough. For many Israelis, the hostages' plight has remained a national trauma. Their prolonged captivity has been a potent reminder of Hamas's past atrocities and of the deep scars left by the October 7th attacks. Cohen's reference to the larger geopolitical chessboard also brought into focus the complex interplay of regional powers and shifting alliances. In recent years, Iran's nuclear ambitions have been a primary concern for both the US and Israel. Cohen acknowledged that some progress had been made under Trump's leadership during his first term, notably in constraining Iran's nuclear capabilities, at least temporarily. Aaron Cohen noted, the main one being that Iran's nuclear capability was taken off the table, at least for a couple of years working together. That's a huge relief for Israel. Yet he also recognized that friction had arisen between Washington and Jerusalem on other fronts. One such flashpoint involved an Israeli military strike on Qatari interests, which later necessitated a public apology. The incident had sparked questions about whether Israel and the United States were still fully aligned in their approach to the conflict. When asked whether the partnership between the two allies remained intact, Cohen responded, "I believe that we are. I think the intelligence is still closely coordinated. I don't think there's anything that Israel is doing that President Trump and the War Department don't know about." He went on to stress the uncompromising stance of Israeli leadership in defending its citizens. Bibi's going to be pushy. He's got a country to protect here. This is total safety. That's the way Israel frames this operation this last 2+ years here at war. 20+ hostages still alive. Israel's got to keep kinetic. They've already moved into Gaza City. Cohen further highlighted that Israel's recent counter-terror operations, including strikes beyond its borders, were designed to send a clear message, making that strategic operation, that counter-terror operation in Qatar, that was also very strong signaling, which is, again, Israel can get to you anywhere, he explained. Despite occasional disagreements, Cohen expressed confidence in the resilience of US-Israeli relations. I think the relationship is fine. I think that President Trump knows that Bibi is doing everything that he has to do, and Trump, at the end of the day, is going to do what's good for Israel. He understands the significance of this partnership between Israel and the United States, that Israel continues to be America's forward operating base in the region. Cohen underscored that President Trump recognizes the regional dynamics and the influence of external actors, particularly Qatar. President Trump is not stupid. He knows that Qatar is one of the main financiers of all of that terrorism that the Muslim Brotherhood has been pumping into the education cycle here in the US, which is affecting other areas of US national security with this lone wolf terrorism that we're seeing popping off, he stated. For Cohen, the priority remains clear: securing the hostages first, then reassessing the battlefield. I believe that this move right now is to get those hostages out, and then let's reset and have a look at the board. But I know him and Bibi are thick as thieves, and they're going to be working this thing all the way through to the end line. And so let's go piece by piece. This is how you deal with terrorists. His framing of the conflict as a strategic chess match reflected a deeply pragmatic outlook, one that acknowledges both the humanitarian urgency of the hostage situation and the hard realities of dealing with a group like Hamas. This unfolding situation has also rekindled debates about the effectiveness of Trump's personal brand of diplomacy, which often relies on a mix of direct threats and calculated incentives. While his detractors accuse him of inconsistency and unpredictability, his supporters argue that such tactics have occasionally yielded breakthroughs where traditional diplomatic approaches have failed. In the current scenario, the question remains whether Hamas's apparent willingness to release hostages signals genuine readiness for a broader peace agreement, or merely serves as a temporary tactic to ease military pressure and garner international sympathy. The stakes could not be higher. For Israel, the decision about whether to moderate its military operations in Gaza hinges on assurances that the release of hostages will be honored in full and not exploited as a stalling tactic. For the United States, the episode serves as a test of its ability to broker meaningful concessions without compromising Israel's security. The families of the hostages, meanwhile, continue to hold their breath. Many have endured years of agonizing uncertainty, clinging to fading hopes for the safe return of their loved ones. The president's statement and Hamas's response have offered a glimmer of hope, but not yet a guarantee. International observers are equally cautious. Past ceasefire agreements and prisoner exchanges between Israel and Hamas have often unraveled, leading to renewed hostilities. The challenge now is to determine whether this moment represents a genuine turning point or yet another fleeting pause in a long and bloody conflict. The discussion with Aaron Cohen highlighted that any sustainable resolution will require more than symbolic gestures. Without a fundamental change in Hamas's stance on disarmament and recognition of Israel's right to exist, skeptics argue that peace will remain elusive. Yet for all the complexities, one undeniable fact stands out: the fate of roughly 20 hostages still believed to be alive. Their safe return is the immediate priority for both Israel and the United States. The coming days will reveal whether the current diplomatic push will succeed in achieving this goal and whether it can lay the foundation for a more comprehensive peace effort. As the situation develops, the region, and indeed the world, watches with bated breath. The chessboard analogy offered by Aaron Cohen may prove an apt metaphor for the intricate moves and countermoves that lie ahead. But for the families awaiting the return of their loved ones and for the leaders weighing the next steps, the stakes are far more than strategic. They are profoundly human.